What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. Back with me today after a long, strenuous weekend of activism is Christine Olivo. Christine,
Hi.
how are you doing? Welcome back.
I am great. Thank you so much. Feeling the weather.
Back in Miami, baby.
Back in Miami, even though I'm wearing a sweater, but yes, very happy to be back.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So, really quick before we get into the sad news, just give like a little brief synopsis of all the stuff that you were doing this weekend, and because you were in DC, we were actually there together. We got some marching done, got some protesting done, and for a brief minute even got to celebrate a bit. So let's just give a brief synopsis of what you were in DC for.
This weekend, I went to DC for Force the Vote, fighting for Medicare for all. And coincidentally, we were also fighting for Julian Assange, to free Julian Assange. So it was a weekend filled with a lot of ups and downs, I would say. It was powerful to be in DC where a lot of the change happened and be there with a group of people that felt the same, that had the same energy pushing for this change. Just, some of the outcomes weren't exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. Some of the outcomes were not what we wanted. Obviously, Julian Assange is not going to be extradited, but as we'll talk about later on the show, unfortunately, his bail has been denied, honestly, inexplicably at this point. However, I feel like the overall ask of the weekend, the reason that all people were together, were to just ask these politicians to finally be brave, be courageous on the issues that really affect us the most at this time, outside of maybe election integrity. Julian Assange and press freedom and whistleblower protection, and Medicare for all, universal health care. Both issues, by the way, have always been considered to be leftist issues.
Yes.
Especially whistleblower protections. If you know your history about Black Panthers, climate activists, et cetera, we are the ones who get targeted and over surveilled, and Martin Luther King was spied on by J. Edgar Hoover, and so these are issues that traditionally leftists have always cared about. The activists, the organizers have always cared about, but unfortunately it seems to have fallen to the wayside too much. Although we did have a lot
divided. Also, it's causing a division in a way that I would have never thought of. I would think, okay, we're all fighting for the same cause. And what I've seen these past few days is that people will make excuses. People talked about the size of our crowd. Mm-hmm. They talked about, the people that were there, whether they were credible or not. They talked about all of these things, but nobody talked about the issues. Nobody was saying, hey, you know what, kudos to them for going out there and trying to fight and demanding that our elected officials do their job. We're not asking you to do anything other than the job that we elected you for.
Exactly.
The bare minimum.
And I think that what largely went unnoticed, but unfortunately I couldn't ignore, was the fact that for me, I've been an activist for a while now, and I've been a part of some pretty huge events and some small ones. But I've been pretty plugged into the activism and organizer community. But I can say pretty confidently that there's never been another event that I've ever been to where most of the featured speakers were either Black or a person of color. Like half of the featured speakers were women, and the ones who were women were all women of color or Black. But when you look at the people who were slandering the event, these are all white people, white progressives, or what I call neo-progressives, and they were attempting to erase not only an event, but the protesters and organizers who spoke at these events.
Yes.
And not only that, but the guy, and by the way, Jackson, who organized it, is a white male from Arizona. And I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't know if he did it on accident. But that's what it ended up as. The featured speakers were Black or mixed, or Black or people of color. And it was just like, so hold on. If they were Republican, if Cenk and Anna and all these people who spent this amount of time shaming and smearing and attacking an event for healthcare in the middle of a pandemic, if they were a Republican, everyone would call them racist. That would be immediately what would be said. Like, why are you attempting to? Because if you are a Black person, if you are a person of color, hell, especially if you're a woman, then we're the ones who are most affected by the disparate nature of our system. we're the ones who get it the most. We're the ones who are subject to the whims overall of Obamacare. That is a community that is most affected in a negative way. And yet, when we, the people who are most affected, go out there to fight, they told us, y'all are silly. Look at those speakers. Why y'all didn't get enough people there? Instead of, you should have been shaming the people who could have made it but wasn't there. That's what they should have been shaming.
Yeah, shame on you.
Yeah.
Where were you? I'm sure you were able to get a ticket, a flight out. I didn't see you organizing your own protests.
Mm-hmm.
So don't talk down on any of us that were out there, that made the trip, that drove 16 hours, that flew, that left their families behind to go and fight for you to have health care.
Exactly.
Or to fight for
Well, no, they already got health care.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But we're fighting for everybody. It's not like we're singling anyone out. This is a fight for all American people.
Mm-hmm.
And also fighting for freedom of the press.
Yeah.
These are journalists.
Or Assange is a journalist. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, these are journalists. This should have been on every single person's feed. They should have been pushing it. They should have been encouraging it. There shouldn't have been anyone talking down on it. And we got so much pushback, but you know what? It didn't matter. The energy this weekend, no one could break that.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
No one could break that.
That's true. And for a brief moment, we even tasted victory and left inspired to fight harder, if anything. I want to move on to this Jacob Blake situation. So for those of you who don't know, Jacob Blake, the cops who shot him will I can't even say prosecuted because they're not going to get a chance for that.
No.
They will not be indicted. In other words, they will not even be able to be charged. There will be no investigation, no discovery, nothing. There won't even be an opportunity to charge these cops and hold them accountable. Maybe they were innocent, or maybe there was probable cause. We will never know that in actuality. We'll never know that because for some reason cops get to have a whole ass jury come into play before we can even think about charging them. But if you or I committed a crime, there is no investigative process to figure out if they want to charge me.
Yeah.
And of course, it damn sure wouldn't be our friends doing the investigation.
Exactly.
So there's that too. So I wanted to get your opinion on that situation. First of all, like just what mindset state were you in when you heard the verdict or the decision that was made by the judge?
So yesterday was a difficult day for me because when I immediately saw that they decided not to charge the officer that shot Jacob Blake, I was disgusted. I turned to Twitter. I knew that Twitter was going to be an outrage. I was wrong. Everyone's talking about the Georgia elections. There's barely a tweet here or there about Jacob Blake. But when the elections were coming up in November 3rd, when everybody was voting for our new president, there was so much outrage for George Floyd, for Jacob Blake, for everyone, for Breonna Taylor. Black Lives Matter flooded the internet, flooded social media.
Raised millions
of dollars. And now we barely hear a whisper. Today, Jacob Blake's not even trending today. He did not get any justice yesterday. And the very woman that has been elected as a vice president, she was the first one saying, end qualified immunity. Let's create a national database for officers that are discharged in one city and to try to get a job in another. Like, she had this whole platform. But all I saw yesterday on her feed it wasn't end qualified immunity, justice for Jacob Blake. It was, don't forget, Go vote, Georgia.
You know what's even more disgusting? So I want to go re-verify. I'm like, well, maybe, who knows? Perhaps Jacob Blake is trending now, because now that the election is over. You know what's trending instead? Back the Blue. Blue Lives Matter.
Wow.
They have more energy.
Back the Blue.
They have more energy.
What justifies you to shoot somebody in the back?
7 times.
7 times. It doesn't matter if they walk away from you. It doesn't matter if they are just blatantly not listening to you.
Yeah, that's not a reason to shoot anybody.
My kids don't listen to me. There are times that they walk away from me. I'm not going to go around shooting anybody in the back. If you are a trained officer, it is your job to de-escalate. It is your job to effectively communicate with the person that you're speaking to. He was not the subject.
Yeah. And the excuse has been, by the Blue Lives Matter folk. Oh well, he had a knife, and by the way, I don't really care. Like, don't get me wrong. He shouldn't have had a knife walking up to the police officer if he knew that was the case. Which I seriously doubt that he would walk up to a bunch of police officers with one knife. That's stupid. If he had it on him, it was probably because he just keeps one on him because he lives in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin loves their knives and their guns. That's just kind of what they like. But if you have a baton, okay, so maybe that's not, maybe that's a little bit too close for your comfort. You have mace, you have a taser. Yeah. Not only that, but you got all of those things times what? How many officers are out there? Like 6 or 7?
Yeah. Some
crazy number. Okay.
Yeah, he is outnumbered.
You're out. Yeah, exactly. And so not only do y'all have all these other weapons before you even think about reaching for your gun, but you have the numbers. Yeah. Why is it that we are seeing the cops being held to a different standard when it comes to the law and not violating it than the people that they are sworn to protect? In every other profession, like boxing, for example, if you're a boxer and you are a trained professional, if you lose your temper, it is not a life or death situation. You just knock somebody out, that's a felony now.
Yeah.
And you lose your boxing license, you'll never box again.
You're done.
We see more accountability for professional fighters than we do for police officers.
What about for medical professionals? If a doctor accidentally paralyzes someone, yeah, he's gonna have to pay for that.
And if it was an accident, right? So say just 7 times in an accident, but let's just say if it was an accident, right? You're not even giving a reason for other cops to be more wary of committing accidents.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I can be as reckless as I want to, apparently, because it's not going to matter. I'm going to get away with it anyway.
Has anyone asked about his children that were in the car that witnessed this? The mind, like what their minds are going through right now. The traumatic experience that they witnessed. What about the children? Mm-hmm. Do they get justice for their father?
How do you explain?
How do you explain that? That the people that are supposed to protect you, they just took your father's ability to walk, all because he turned his back on them. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? You turn your backs on us every single day.
Yeah, they do. And right now, speaking of turning their backs, the Democrats right now are bragging about getting back the Senate. Now they have the Senate. They have the House, and they have the White House as well. Not filibuster proof, but they do have all of them. They will have Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and Mitch McConnell will now be the Senate Majority Leader. Now on the other side of that coin, Joe Biden wrote the crime bill.
Senate minority?
No, he'll be Senate Majority Leader now. Not Mitch McConnell, excuse me. Chuck Schumer will. Yeah, Chuck Schumer will be the Senate Majority Leader. On the flip side of that coin, not just the same party, the same exact people. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were there. Biden wrote the crime bill that a lot of these Republican governors and these police institutions take advantage of to commit these acts. The Democrats pushed that policy under Bill Clinton, and they're all in power now. The governor of Wisconsin is a Democrat.
The governor of Wisconsin is a Democrat. Governor Ivers. The mayor of Kenosha is a Democrat. Mayor Antaramian.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, the attorney general is a Democrat. And yet, no charges are being filed against the man that shot Jacob Blake 7 times in the back.
Mm-hmm. The attorney general, in case y'all don't know, has the ability to actually step in. Not to mention, if that attorney general doesn't want to step in, well, Joe Biden, whoever he is slotted to pick as attorney general, could have, because obviously as a transition team, they have their picks already. The person slotted to be attorney general could put out a statement immediately and say, "Hey, I'm stepping in for this because this is ridiculous. There's no way. I want to see the proof. I want to see the information. I'm going to double check at least that. I'm going to go back and verify at least. Throw somebody a bone. Not even that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you got to overturn the ruling. I'm just saying, can we take steps to show that we're doing whatever we can, especially given how this was such an issue that was apparently serious enough to fundraise before November 3rd, but now, once again, hasn't even been trending on Twitter.
Fundraise? We're painting streets, Black Lives Matter Plaza. Mm-hmm. We are... T-shirts, hashtags. What about Breonna Taylor? Have we forgotten that her murderers have not been brought to justice either?
Yeah.
But there's no election, right?
Exactly.
And we just won Georgia, so we're not going to hear anything. It makes me wonder which party is really for the people. I mean, the Democrats.
Are there any of them?
Are there any of them? Because the Democrats said over and over and over again that to trust them, that they are going to have police reform, criminal justice reform, reform. Everything's going to be reformed. Well, what about the party?
Yeah.
When are we going to have a party reform?
Or a system? No, we need a whole system.
A whole new system.
In my opinion.
Because you encourage everyone to vote Democrat, thinking that we're going to fight for racial justice. And yet we just watched a Democrat mayor, attorney general, and governor turn to the side and watch as no charges are brought against this person that shot Jacob Blake. And
it's funny. So I'm a sports fan, obviously. I do sports commentary. Go follow Double Tech on my sports page. I watched the Undisputed this morning. I'm a really avid listener of Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. And Shannon was actually celebrating this morning because he's from Atlanta. He's from Georgia. He lives in Atlanta now. It goes back and forth between there and LA. And he was like saying, Georgia, stand up. We got the Democrats, And he also brought up briefly that Jacob Blake is not getting any justice. But I'm saying, y'all don't find it, it was almost like it wasn't even registering. Like, bro, you're cheering because you got 2 Democrats in the Senate, right? Y'all have the majority. You're cheering because the guy who wrote the crime bill now has the majority. The same guy who, by the way, he said he was going to veto Medicare for all. So there's that. But that's a different conversation. But Wisconsin, once again, governor, Democrat, mayor, Democrat, DA, Democrat, AG, Democrat. Where's the justice at, bro?
Where's the justice?
So we're going to pretend like it's the Republicans now? We're going to, even in Wisconsin, where Democrats have control over every instance.
What excuse do you have now?
And why would you cheerlead for it? That's my thing. If it happens, I could care less which one is it. Ossoff didn't tweet anything about this yesterday. And yet, as you're celebrating Ossoff, and then you once again mention Jacob Blake in the same breath, you didn't even think to ask, hold up, what did Ossoff say about this yesterday when it happened? You know what he and Biden and all them were tweeting out? Stay in line.
Yeah, stay in line.
Okay.
Stay in line.
And no, nothing.
My heart goes out to the Blake family, to his children, to his father, who, his father was saying that they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they shouldn't be in this by themselves. Everyone that was out there protesting in the streets, everyone that was out there making the phone calls and demanding justice for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, we need to stand up for Jacob Blake.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Call if you, hell no, damn that. Even if you're not from Wisconsin, call the
mayor, John Antaramian, and demand justice.
Call the governor.
The attorney general, I think it's John Call.
Calls the attorney general.
Yes, the attorney general Call. Let him know that you demand justice for Jacob Blake. And call the governor, Governor Ivers.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely him. Oh, yeah, because he was quick to call the National Guard on protesters the night that Jacob Blake got shot. Yeah, it was weird because he called the National Guard. And then, of course, but it never made the news because Trump didn't ask for it. But then Trump actually asked for the National Guard to be deployed in Wisconsin. And then Evers was like, we already deployed them. And Trump was like, you're not deploying enough people. And it's funny watching, once again, Trump try to pretend to be like, oh, look, I'm going to be tough on crime and tough on protest. And then the Democrat, the reason that I'm sure the Republicans didn't know because he was quiet about it, because he's not about to be braggadocious about sending the National Guard on black people protesting because another one just got shot. And it's posturing. All of it. It's just posturing. Cameron Moore, thanks for the super chat. Serious question: is America too far gone to save? I don't know. I don't think that's the case yet. And the only reason I say that is because every time it seems like we're too far gone, we make these huge leaps in the most unexpected ways. And I think that actually what we're about to see I'm almost thankful. Mm-hmm. If they didn't get either the House or the Senate, I would be like, oh, indifferent, like it's just stupid, whatever. But I'm kind of thankful that that Biden and the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and now the White House, because I don't want to hear excuses no more. And I can guarantee, like in the Trump years, you know, business was a little bit difficult, a little bit shaky, because I like to tell the truth, and the truth is, both the Democrats and Republicans are equally as bad. There was a lot of lying about Trump and a lot of ignoring about the bad things that he actually did because the Democrats agree with it. See, the Democrats don't get to play that game anymore. That's over. Business about to be booming. A lot of truth to be told, and there is now indisputable evidence that, or there will be indisputable evidence that even under the Democrats, it'll still look like we're under a GOP administration. Yeah. And that's the truth that I think not everybody paying attention. That's the truth.
You can't hide from that.
That we need to see. Yeah, and I will say this before we move on to a sign just really fast. I am interested to know where the hell Antifa is. Because I know Antifa, you know, everybody thinks that black people are like largely like involved in Antifa. We're not. We're not at the frat party, so we don't get the calls. And we don't wear, most of us, unless literally it's because of, you know, COVID or something like that. Likely don't wear masks in situations like that because you get shot really quick when you're a black man in a mask, ski mask or any mask. So I'm just curious because everybody has given me a lot of heat. I'm saying, look, man, I know my history. Like I've been at these protests. I've been fighting these fights. I remember who was where and who was not there. I remember hearing and seeing Antifa at the Trump protest, and that was the first time I had seen this new modern day Antifa. But I don't remember seeing them at Standing Rock. I don't remember seeing them in Baltimore. Yeah. I don't remember seeing them in Ferguson when literally tanks were rolling down the street and protesters were coming up missing. Like, I don't remember seeing them in New York during this whole Eric Gardner situation when we found out just how militarized the police had become at the behest of Obama. Like, they just popped up to call Trump a fascist while ignoring the fascism that we had seen under the Obama administration. So now we're after the election. Last night, but if that would have happened before the election, everybody's outside. Everybody's outside. Yeah. BLM's trending. Oh, yeah. Jacob Blake's name is trending.
Yeah, because it's all tied into getting elected, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of our officials that have already been elected, they want to earn your trust. So they see the issue that is most pressing on your heart, and they will push for it. Vote for me so that I can go and change that for you. Vote for me, I can do this for you. And then crickets.
Yep, that's it. Joe, nice DJ. Great to meet both of you this past weekend at the Force to Vote rally in Washington, D.C. Keep up the magnificent work. Much respect. Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you as well. Stay human is my last donation to you, Niko. If you don't cover Washington, D.C. right now, this is extremely important. What's happening in Washington? I mean, I know that the Stop the Steal protest is going on.
Yes.
Right now. Which, I mean, I support. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't really care who's in. We should have
no
election
one should
justice.
Be stealing your election.
Yeah, like that's the thing too. I talk about with people. People think that I like want Trump or Biden to win. Actually, I don't really care which one wins. Like, I mean, just pragmatically, I would not like a civility fascist that could potentially lead to accelerationism, and while he has both parties pretending that he's doing us favors, but just realistically, I don't care about either of them because that's the system is a system. But I do care about transparency because it isn't only presidents that we vote for. Right? At the very bare minimum, the reason that like Stop the Steal or any election justice protest from the left or the right is it always going to be important is because we're in a system right now where like we don't know if Trump had it stolen or if Biden there was an attempt from Trump's administration to steal it. We don't know. And we will never know. That's the problem. That in and of itself should leave the entire country dissatisfied with the results of these elections and have everybody on the streets so we can make sure that I'm not wasting. Our time is so valuable. Especially given there were a lot of older people who voted in this election, a lot of people who waited in line because they wanted to make sure their votes counted. Like a lot of people spent time, put their bodies on the line, expose themselves to COVID potentially, expose their family members to COVID potentially to get their votes counted, and they deserve to know whether or not their vote went to the person that they expected to go to, and that's what it comes down to.
It's not about party; it's about principle.
You're showing me a bunch of links to Twitter. I don't really know what those links are. So, but Pasta and Fiorella are already out there, so I'm sure that we will see what's going on there right now. I saw last night that the cops are actually beating the hell out of some of the Stop the Steal people.
Really?
Yeah. So we kind of told y'all though. We told y'all they not on y'all team either. Like it just looked really good for them to be on y'all team at the time, but the Biden administration coming in, he the one gonna pay the bills. He already offered them like a bunch of money. He already said we're gonna give them hundreds of millions of dollars to retrain because we saw how that worked out last time. They took it and bought tanks with it. I
just want to go back and answer that question of are we too far gone?
Mm-hmm.
I actually think we're at the best place in history right now because we see the truth. Things are being exposed. So now is the time for the people to create the shift, not the government, but for the people to create the shift. We can't create a shift in our future if we don't know the truth. So be grateful that at least things are being exposed and brought to the light so that now as a community we can come together to fight against the system.
Yeah, 100% agree. This is always talk about the age of Aquarius, which is really just the age of enlightenment, and we are entering into that. And I feel like after everything was exposed this weekend, so much is exposed this weekend.
Yes.
And even right now, like I think that there is somewhat of a revelation within the MAGA group who may have been defending the cops no matter what during these protests over the last few months. And now they're getting, because there is no political narrative that they can hide behind, no politician or celebrity they can hide behind, even with Trump here, because the cops, the chief of police, I should say, the Metro chief of police, he knows who his next boss is, and it is not the Trump administration anymore. And that is, and that means the cops are no longer an ally to you. Not that they ever were. You just were. It's just like how. It's just like with the Democrats, right? The black people, Democrats love black people when it's time to get their votes. And then you're not the ally anymore. Now you're a nuisance, and they'll do whatever they have to do to crush you if you decide, like Anita Hill did, or like like Joe Biden did Anita Hill when she was trying to blow the whistle on Clarence Thomas. Like this is what they do. And so and I hope that there is a revelation there with the MAGA crowd and the Blue Lives Matter crowd that these are fascist security guards, period, point blank. And that's something that needs to be understood. So speaking of fascism, although Julian Assange is extradited, or will not be extradited, excuse me, for some reason, the judge has decided to deny his bail. So now, at least currently, I think that he might be able to appeal that, but at least currently, he is going to be stuck in jail for not really any charges in the UK. I think his only charge is skipping bail, which doesn't make any sense. Until the appeals process concludes. That's that. So they're going to keep him in there, locked in solitary confinement with COVID, horrible conditions. After, by the way, they said that horrible conditions, the state of his health and his potential mental health are the reason that they weren't going to extradite him. So,
but he doesn't have COVID yet, right? He's just
has not. It's crazy. He's still alive. He's still like.
But they keep bringing people into his.
They're trying to infect him. They're trying to get him killed. It is not working out the way they thought it would.
Well.
That's the only thing I can think of.
That was another disappointing revelation this morning. Like I had so much hope. It broke my heart, but what that tells me is that we've just got to keep fighting. Obviously, the noise that we made worked, right? But we've just got to keep fighting. My heart breaks for his mom and for his family, his wife and kids that are just dying to see him. I don't know. I don't understand. So he's not well enough to leave, to go to the U.S., but he's well enough to stay. And they haven't even put him in better conditions so far from what I've heard. Like, it's the same conditions he was in, which were horrible. He's literally saying in what is known as in Belmarsh prison, that's considered the Guantanamo Bay of the U.K., which would mean, if you know anything about Guantanamo Bay, their conditions are at least as bad as Guantanamo Bay. And it's horrible. That's... which also gives credence to the idea that was a cover because they didn't want to be the judge that goes down in history for destroying press freedoms. They didn't want to be that, but they also got to do what they do for the empire, and that so that's just lends credence to the belief that it was just a cover. They knew that they couldn't do this. In order for you to have a corrupt system, the system has to be propped up still. And so you can't deteriorate everything like from the system, and that would be a huge one. But on the other side of that fence, the empire still has a job to do, and they still have lives to destroy, and they still want to make an example out of him. That's what my takeaway is. Come on, they've done enough. Enough is enough. And my thing is how can you look into the eyes of someone that has not done, I put on my Twitter that he had done nothing wrong, and someone's like, nothing wrong, he said this and he said that. I'm sorry, excuse me. So when do we get locked up and tortured for years
for being a journalist
for saying something?
It's excuses. That's it. It's excuses to excuse fascism.
I'm pretty sure you've said quite a few things and nobody's locking you up.
Yeah. And in addition to that, this is what I love about the whole idea that he is this Trump support, which is not true, by the way.
Yeah.
He's really not, and he's been very clear about that. But in addition to that, the same liberal media outlets, the same liberal politicians and liberal personalities were saying that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks deserve Nobel Peace Prizes and Pulitzer Prizes. They were literally, New York Times and all, they were calling, they've used his work because of, the Chelsea Manning is in jail because of her sending that information to WikiLeaks that revealed things like the fact that our military shot a helicopter out the sky. It was a media helicopter that was covering what they were doing. So they shot them out the sky. That's the news we found out from WikiLeaks, and they were all about it until they realized, actually, we thought you were a liberal because you're exposing the Bush administration. So you're actually exposing everybody. So you're not on anybody's team except for the truth. No, we can't have that.
Yeah.
We can't have that. And so now everybody hates him. And even as the liberals were celebrating it, by the way, the United States was working to keep Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy under the Obama administration, pretending like they didn't have a problem with him until obviously they couldn't pretend anymore. But like in acting like they were celebrating him, but even once again behind the scenes, they were still persecuting him. But it was never news because at that time Julian Assange was still popular.
Yeah.
And WikiLeaks was still popular. But now it's a no holds bar. Every administration is going to try to take him out. And I genuinely fear for his life under this Biden administration. And the only good thing I can say about the last week, outside of the fact that he's not going to be indicted, is the fact that at least he won't get sent here where Joe Biden can get his hands on him.
Agreed.
And because Biden was one of the architects of the Iraq War. So, what any last words before we let you get up out of here?
Oh, I have so many last words. Number one, I just want everyone to know that you can use your voice. What I learned this weekend, doesn't matter if it's just one person or a group of two, a group of three, you can use your voice to make a significant impact in your community. Speak up, say something, come together and fight. Jacob Blake needs you to fight right now. Julian Assange still needs you to fight right now. There are issues in your community that need you to fight right now. Medicare for All needs you to fight right now. So what I need you to do is figure out how you can use your voice and go do it. In the meantime, for me, can you please call the mayor of Kenosha? Call the governor of Wisconsin. Let them know that Jacob Blake is a human being, an American citizen, and he was shot 7 times in the back, and he deserves justice.
Paralyzed from the waist down.
You can also visit my website, www.christineforcongress.org. Check me out. Sign up to just get some updates on the campaign. I'm out here. I'm fighting. I will be wherever I need to be, because I want the people to know that I am on the people's side. This is not about party. This is not about a position. This is about the people. That is what this campaign's about. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
As always, it is a pleasure. So that's ChristineForCongress.org. If you want to check her out, sign up to volunteer. There are a lot of different ways you can help Christine. And to be honest, like I said, I'm so tired of politicians. Christine is not one. And that's one of the reasons that I think we've vibed so well, and not only with me, but with all the activists. Even with activists who hate, just the moment they find you're a politician, they don't want to hear anything from you. And they even supported Christine after they had spent the weekend just seeing what she's about. And so go to ChristineForCongress.org and help out however you can, because it's going to be a long fight over the next 2 to 3 years. And we need somebody that's going to stand up to this administration. We don't need people who are going to enable it like what we've seen right now.
Yes.
And also sending love to Assange, his wife and his family, and of course his mother as well, Christine, who I actually was fortunate enough to get to meet in person finally at the rally this weekend. And shout out to the Action for Assange crew, who is currently still out there protesting and bringing attention to what's going on with Julian Assange. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Rockfin, considering endorsing the channel, which you can do by either scanning these barcodes, or scanning the Rockfin barcode and becoming a premium subscriber. You get everybody's content if you become a premium subscriber. Everybody's premium content, I mean. You'll get our Thursday show, a Thursday premium show from 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern if you're a premium subscriber. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.